Let's talk about Chelsea. They're a bit of a mess, aren't they? It's difficult to tell which way they're going to go. Obviously, Sarri's come in as the new manager. I think he's a good coach, but I think that the issues he's facing right now are whether two of his star players are going to hang around, and that's not really related to him or anything to do with him. So, will Courtois be there at the beginning of the season? Will Eden Hazard be there? I think both are great FPL players if they are around, and I think that they have a big impact on how other players around them are gonna perform. It's not entirely clear what kind of system Sarri's going to play, and I think that doubt makes me feel really reluctant to invest heavily in Alonso and Azpilicueta, who have been such strong performers in the FPL in previous seasons, but if you have a quick look at how Napoli played last year, there's a good chance that they won't be getting forward in quite the same way that they have been for Conte in the past. Plus, they're expensive, but those points from last season, they're just irresistible. It's a tough decision to make, but I'm gonna personally skip on both of those guys. I think there's some value in Chelsea's midfield. There are a couple of players there who are non-star players who you can pick up for a very good price that I think are worth thinking about. There's N'Golo Kante and Jorginho, who by all accounts sounds like he's like Sarri's kind of key player. I think both of those guys are going to get picked every week by Chelsea. It's going to be interesting to see how they use them. And for £5 million for each of them, they are very good options to have in the squad that should just kind of consistently pick up points. They're not going to score many goals or pick up that many assists I expect, but definitely worth thinking about if you're trying to balance out your squad with a player that's a bit cheaper in midfield, but one that's going to play consistently in a good team and will be surrounded by goals and clean sheets and stuff. And will hopefully just start to accumulate some points. So I'm interested in them personally. I think I'm going to look at Jorginho quite closely and maybe pick him from the beginning of the season. Chelsea do have a good start in terms of fixtures. They have Arsenal at home, but other than that, they're away at Huddersfield, Newcastle, home to Bournemouth, Cardiff, away at West Ham. So they're definitely worth thinking about at the beginning of the season. Okay, Crystal Palace, let's go. Happy to talk about these guys forever. They're my team. I'm excited about Palace's prospects this season. I think that they're going to be improved on last season. They finished the season very strongly. I think top of the form league maybe, or second behind Man City at the end of last season. Reasons I feel good about Palace: I think they're going to be better defensively with Mamadou Sakho and James Tompkins fit and playing together. I don't think they've lost the game while they've been playing together, and they look like a really good centre-back partnership. The club have strengthened at goalkeeper. They've signed a guy called Vicente Guaita, who will be pushing hard for the number one spot. I'd like to see him start at number one, but time will tell. And in midfield, we've got a very solid base now. I was concerned earlier in the summer when we lost Johan Cabaye, and it was disappointing to see Ruben Loftus-Cheek go back to Chelsea. But Luka Milivojevic is a very consistent performer. He's a very good defensive central midfielder, but also gets forward, scores goals from open play, and is Palace's penalty taker. He's definitely a player that you should be thinking about, although he's been priced that way this season. So, give him some thought, but maybe not the first Palace player you think to pick up, despite those points from last season. There's been a couple of new signings. Czech Kouyaté is coming from West Ham. I'm not sure how often he'll play or whether he'll pick up that many FPL points. Max Meyer looks like a fantastic young talent from Germany. I'm really excited to see him play. I think he'll add a lot to Palace's midfield. So I think they're going to be a lot more solid. And that means that if you're looking for budget defenders or midfielders who can pick up some points as well, they're a good club to look at versus others, I think. I'm obviously really biased. But the key players to have a look at, I think, are Wilfried Zaha, Patrick Van Aanholt, and James Tompkins for slightly different reasons. Tompkins will pick up goals from corners. He was scoring. He got a good few goals last year, and I think Palace will pick up more clean sheets than they did last season. Van Aanholt likes to get forward and kind of score from open play as well. He's got a good shot on him and had a good scoring run at the end of last season, but is priced a little bit higher. But Wilf Zaha has actually been classified as a striker this season, and I think he's going to play as a striker. And he's obviously a devastatingly good attacking force. He will get goals. He's been getting goals in pre-season. He'll be involved in everything, I think, that Palace do. And at 7 million for a striker, I think that he will deliver a really good return. He'll be the main man at the club again. And generally speaking, I like it when you know that players are going to get picked every week and play 90 minutes every week, as I'm pretty sure that Wilf will. So they'd be the players that I would focus on from Crystal Palace. Oh boy, let's talk about Everton. I like Everton as a club, and their fans are generally a good bunch. But I think they're in a bit of a rough position at the moment. I'm not sure how this season's going to go. Marco Silva finally joined as manager. I think he's a good coaching talent, but it's a bit difficult to tell really, exactly what his pedigree is. He's got off to a strong start at Hull and then at Watford, and then either went off the boil or just it hasn't quite worked out. And I know that moving to Everton was a part of that. But the truth is, he should be able to get more of a tune out of a squad that was performing really badly last season. I don't think Everton can get much worse, and actually losing Wayne Rooney is probably a positive step because he wasn't adding a huge amount and maybe was kind of a bit too dominant a force on the training ground. They're having a terrible pre-season. I think I read they've lost 4 games in a row. So I think they'll probably drag a little at the start of the season, which is tough for them because I think they've got some easy fixtures to start, so they don't want to start slowly. So keep an eye on them. I think, I've got a good feeling that they're going to lose to Wolves on the first day of the season. Wolves have got tons of positive energy around them, and the opposite is true for Everton. The question will be, can Everton kind of bounce back quickly? And if they do, who are the players that are going to be the players you want to pick for your fantasy league team? Sigurdsson is obviously in the past has had a great goal scoring and assist record. He didn't quite have that season that he wanted to have last season with Everton maybe settling in and with Rooney around. And the other players that I think are worth thinking about are Richarlison, who just signed this summer. He's obviously a fantastic talent and then got off to a great start with Watford last year. And then Cenk Tosun, who not many people seem to be talking about or buying, I think, in the Premier League game, but he got up and running eventually after joining in January and started scoring a little bit more consistently towards the end of last year. And I think that he will probably pick up where he left off, and I can see him getting a good few goals. So again, one of those strikers to consider if you're looking for a slightly more value option up front. Okay, Fulham. Completely unpredictable. I think they could be great or they could be terrible. It's really hard to tell. I'm really excited by some of their incoming transfers though. I think the lad Seri, apparently I've never seen him play, but everyone seems very excited about him, and I think signing a player like that in defensive central midfield is a good place to start. As a promoted team, hopefully he'll be able to help them kind of gain control of the ball once they get possession, and good things can flow from there. Andreas Schürrle looks like an interesting gamble. I think he obviously was a fantastic player at Chelsea and had some good seasons at Dortmund. He's still relatively young. I was quite surprised to find out that he's not as old as I thought he was. He'll be great. I'm really excited to see Ryan Sessegnon play as well. I think he had a fantastic season in the Championship last year, and he is an exciting young talent that will probably go on to score goals in the Premier League too. And I think it all depends on where he plays and how much he can get forward from whatever position he's playing in, because I know he's been played in various different positions. And I think it's a great thing that they signed Mitrovic from Newcastle too. You know, he did well there last year. I think without him there, I'd be worried for them, because I think he does a lot of hard work and hold up play for Fulham. So it's good news that they've got him involved on a full-time basis. But I guess really, you know, from an FPL point of view, they need one star to kind of get you interested in them, and it's worth monitoring. I'm not entirely sure who that person's going to be. I definitely would consider looking at Schürrle, and beyond that, I'm going to kind of wait to see how the team pans out. They've got some nice looking home fixtures in the first 6, but awful looking away fixtures. So Fulham might be one of those teams early on that you want to play very tactically. They've got Palace, Burnley, and Watford at home, and then they've got Tottenham, Brighton, and Man City away. So you kind of want to be involved in those home games, but you don't really want to be involved in the away games, I suspect. Let's talk about Huddersfield briefly. I don't think they're going to be up to much this season, either in terms of the Premier League and how they do. I think they're going to struggle and probably get relegated. And I don't see a kind of a star player that's worth looking at in terms of picking for FPL. Their end of the season form kind of was pretty bad, and I think they're really going to struggle this year. Moy might be worth looking at again. I think this season he's priced at £5.5 million. He could be good value to have in midfield. I think last season he was taking a lot of corners and indirect free kicks and getting the odd goal. So he may be worth including, because he should generate some points. But outside of that, I'm just going to steer clear of Huddersfield. I just don't think that they've got much going on this season.